is Cameron Smith, and today we'll be talking about two authors that wrote about the slave experience back in the 1700s. The first one being Alauda Equiano, also known as Gustavus Vassa, which is a name that he received from his master. And then we have Phyllis Wheatley. Her first name she got from the ship that she was put on, and Wheatley being the last name of her master's family. Now, Alauda Equiano, he used his life experiences to really give detail to what the slave experience was. And he said that he really published his experiences to really help his fellow Africans and to also avoid any censorship that might happen. So that's what he did. He published it. And in his readings, he seemed really humble and intelligent in the ways how he was able to, he learned to discriminate between different people, not based off of their color or the texture of their hair. He said that he learned to do this because how he met some white people who treated him kindly and fairly compared to others who brought him on the slave ship where they had him in deplorable conditions. And he stated that the condition of the ship left him not wanting to eat and feeling sick. And because of that, the people on the slave ship, they threatened to punish him, they flogged him, and really forced him to eat. And I think he said, like, owners like his master, they treated him more kindly, and his master really paid attention to like his moralities and things like that. So that's how he learned to really learn to not discriminate. And he also described the people on the slave ships that captured him to be savages. And I just found that very ironic because that's kind of how the whites seen the Native Americans when they first landed, and they really seen the Native Americans for the first time. That's how they thought of them to be. And he really pointed out the irony in the white people because he noted that they were supposed to be religious and following a path of God, but in the end, it was kind of corrupted because they're using black slaves for their own luxurious and lustful gains. That's how he described it. And then I move on to Phyllis Wheatley, who she was more of a poet. She was also born in Africa, and she was kidnapped when she was 7, and she was brought over. And her owners really supported her in terms of like educating her to see if black people could learn. So I feel like for Phyllis Wheatley, she really embodies the TSU value of optimism and unwavering resolve because she kind of proved to white people through her poems and how she gracefully phrased her wordings in her poems that black people were capable of learning. And like we just weren't as inferior. Well, we're not inferior, but they thought of us to be inferior, and we really weren't that. Because through her poems, she really impressed upon people like George Washington, who she supported, and she wrote to him, and he also wrote back to her with respect. So it kind of shows how her using her gift, like she kind of did impress a lot of white people. And it's even accounts like she had to actually go to court in front of 18 white men and prove that it is her writing these poems because they did not believe that a black woman could do that. And I believe she was also offered like an audience with the King of England because of her poems. And she was also gifted enough to even learn English within 16 months, and then within the next 5 following years, she learned Latin and Greek. And then she eventually, after her masters had published all her poems, they eventually emancipated her, meaning like she was a free woman. And I found the similarities between these two authors was, they was both born in Africa and they was both kidnapped. But despite that, they still grew like a certain respect for their countrymen. They just didn't completely hate the white man, just all the way down. Like, for Alauda's perspective, he kind of grew respect and admiration for his new countrymen, which he said that in one of his excerpts. And Phyllis Wheatley, how she really praised and supported George Washington because he's seen him as a potential liberator. And yes, that's everything.